Raine says this is only a simple memoir. Then she insults the audience, explains why Diablo terrifies even primordials, and ends the chapter with a barrier no one was supposed to break. AI Anime and Manga presents. Please like, comment, and subscribe. YouTube members get early access to new episodes and help cover narration, subtitles, thumbnails, and renders. Now let's hear Raine tell the story in her own unreliable way. Raine's account began with exactly the kind of graceful modesty one would expect from one of Guy Crimson's oldest servants. Hello, everybody. My name is Raine. What? You don't know who I am? Don't give me that. You better learn my name or else you're in for it. Go back to school, kid. Then, after a long and very awkward silence, Raine seemed to remember that she was supposed to be elegant. Oh, pardon me. I think I lost it a little there. No, I'm usually quite modest and graceful, but sometimes I fly off the handle. Just every now and then, you know. But since some of you don't seem to know who I am, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Raine. I work as a servant. No, as a maid. I serve as a faithful maid to the Demon Lord Guy Crimson. I've known Sir Guy for a long time. Looking back, I knew him even before the creation of the world. How long ago was that, you ask? How should I know? Do you remember the exact time of day you were born? You don't, do you? It's that sort of thing. I'll be ignoring stupid questions from now on, thank you. Raine explained that she had been derived from the great spirit of darkness, which naturally meant she had believed herself invincible. Then she and one of her sisters made the extremely wise decision to stage a 2-on-1 surprise attack against someone stronger than both of them. They lost big time. The one who beat them was the Demon Lord Guy Crimson, then known as Rouge. The sister beside Raine was Vert, now known as Mizeri. According to Raine, they were very good friends. Her work was Mizeri's to do, and Mizeri's salary was Raine's to receive. That was how true friendship worked, apparently. Mizeri interrupted from nearby. Raine, quit goofing off and get the cleaning done. Raine clicked her tongue under her breath. She had just introduced Mizeri, and already Mizeri was tearing into her. Mizeri's suspicion sharpened at once. What did you say? Nothing, Raine answered quickly. Mizeri let the suspicion drop. No, I hope not. Close call. Mizeri always noticed when Raine took a break, which made her painfully difficult to fool. Raine promised, at least to herself, that she would get back to cleaning for a bit so Mizeri would stop being angry. Then she returned to the important part, the defeat by Guy. That loss revealed one of the great secrets of demons. If a demon's core is broken, that demon can be eradicated for good. A primal demon, however, can resurrect no matter what happens. With true dragons, resurrection can reset the personality while the memories remain, which is how Lady Belzard once reset her younger brother for re-education. Primals do not work that way, their memories and personalities remain intact. Raine considered this totally amazing and would gladly have boasted about it all day if not for the disadvantage attached to it. Resurrection takes time, but that is the small problem. The real problem is that even an immortal demon becomes eternally subordinate to the one they lost to. For Raine and Mizeri, that meant Guy. The discovery changed the power balance among demons. Raine was happy to call that a contribution. Mizeri preferred to call it their fault. Raine warned that she was giving away a demon's secret, how to kill demons, or at least how to make them servile. A primal cannot be fully destroyed in the ordinary sense, but if defeated properly, they fall under the victor. It was not slavery exactly. Raine could defy Sir Guy if she wanted to. Not that she would. He could force obedience a little after all. From there, Raine moved into demon factions. Normally, every primal except that idiot Noir created lots of progeny. Newborn lesser demons had no color, no real self, and only weak intelligence. Humans mostly summoned that enslaved type. When demons gained sentience, they became independent. When they evolved into greater demons, their nature and personality made their color family clearer. Stronger demons could also scout them into factions. Mizeri still managed her own faction and even ran organizations with influence in the human world, including the Sons of the Velt. Raine could not be bothered. She objected immediately to being compared to Noir. She had a faction of her own, supposedly, and being compared to Noir made her furious. Newborn demons might be weak and colorless, reincarnated demons might be born with color already attached, and even tough demons needed their core broken if victory was going to matter. But the central lesson in Raine's mind was simple. Figuring out all of this made her loss to Guy almost worthwhile. In fact, she thought she had done a pretty good job. With that self-sacrificial spirit, Raine and Mizeri continued serving Guy. Guy had stepped back from the struggle for supremacy in the underworld to live on the planet's surface for a while. He told the two of them that they were free to live however they wanted, but Raine had no interest in that. She wanted to stick with the winning team. There was no way Guy would lose, so serving him was the best possible position. When Guy offered their freedom, Raine gave what she considered the perfect maid's answer. No, our duty is to be of use to you. Mizeri, with unbearable sincerity, answered as well. Precisely. You are our king. We are your subjects. That is the eternal, unrelenting truth. Raine hated that Mizeri probably meant every word. Still, the two of them had remained inseparable. Raine might call Mizeri an eternal rival she was burning to get back at, but Mizeri trusted her, so Raine had stopped trying to teach her a lesson, mostly. After wandering for a while, they settled at Guy's current base in a frigid land too cold to support life. Raine, being a demon, insisted this was no problem. Then she admitted that laundry froze solid there and one dress shattered when she punched it out of frustration. Guy warned her to be more regretful. Mizeri gently suggested she be more considerate. Raine decided to be more careful around Guy after that. Problems like that were what an army of servants was for. Raine explained that some people called her and Mizeri omnipotent maids. Cooking, laundry, song, dance, music, art. They could cover all of Guy's requests. Raine might occasionally mess up the cooking and laundry, but everyone learned from mistakes, demons included, so it was best to forget the past. Her personal talent was painting. She loved abstract art. When Mizeri modeled for her, Mizeri cried. Mizeri corrected the record. No, I was furious. Then it was a great success, Raine said. When Raine painted Guy or Velzard, however, she used pure representational realism and did it perfectly. Mizeri muttered that Raine could paint properly if she actually tried, which only made her more angry. Raine chose to tune that out. Raine's other hobby was more impressive. Outside Guy's barrier, the world was an endless blizzard. Inside the barrier, Raine had modified the geography into a warm summer resort, complete with a lake, white sand, beach chairs, and demon lackeys to serve her. She wasted a tremendous amount of energy on it and grinned just thinking about it. Guy liked it too.
The things she comes up with. Yes, Raine's just the best.
Even Mizeri admitted Raine was amazing. Raine hoped she could keep turning her hobbies into regular work forever. Of course, she had another important job. The Demon Lords occasionally held a Walpurgis council, and Raine guided the participants to the event site. Originally, Walpurgis really had been a dinner party between the three Demon Lords of the time, Guy, Milim, and Ramirez. Milim, Velzard's niece, had power beyond comprehension. When she once lost control and rampaged, Raine, Mizeri, and Velzard had been forced to stamp out the aftermath while Ramirez helped bring things to a close. Raine had no intention of doing that again. She respected Milim and she respected Ramirez deeply for lending a hand. As more incidents piled up, Walpurgis became more than dinner. Guy's role was to make sure the human race did not destroy itself, and he brought in more Demon Lords to share the workload. The fourth Demon Lord was Dagrel. He had taken enormous damage during the clash between Guy and Milim while helping keep the battle from wrecking the world. Most of his territory had been reduced to a barren wasteland, and desertification became a constant headache. Raine wished him good luck from the safety of Guy's frozen paradise. The fifth was Luminous, the Queen of Nightmares, daughter of the Vampire Lord. That meant talking about her creator first. According to Raine, that being had been a sort of demigod, the first one created by Veldanava, originally meant to serve as a god of humanity. Instead, he spent ages conducting forbidden experiments. He analyzed himself and created high humans and vampires. The high humans inherited great magic force but collapsed under pride. The vampires gained powerful bodies, massive magic force, near immortality, and a mature mentality, but sunlight made world conquest inconvenient. The demigod kept experimenting. Elementals from the 4 major elements took in magicules and manifested bodies, leading to high dwarves, sirens, flame imps, and high elves. Then the demigod began crossbreeding and created new races such as elves, dwarves, ogres, and beastmen, along with plenty of failed lines that vanished into history or devolved into monsters. Guy was troubled, but as long as Veldanova did not act, Guy would not punish the demigod on his own initiative. Raine personally had no problem watching Guy stew over it.
You just like watching me stew in my own juices, don't you?
Raine gave him a perfect curtsy and denied everything with the face of an ever-faithful maid. In the end, the demigod went too far with his own daughter. He greeted her as his greatest creation.
Your day of judgment is here. Disintegration.
And Luminous turned him into ash. That, Raine said, was the top-secret history behind the 5th Demon Lord, and nobody was allowed to repeat it. The 6th Demon Lord was Dino. Raine hated having to call him Sir. To her, Dino was a pile of garbage who never lifted a finger. Worse than that, he pushed work onto her. If he pushed it onto Mizeri instead, Raine said she might forgive him. Dino had an excuse. No, but when I ask Mizeri, she gets all angry at me, you know? Raine objected. She got just as angry. If Dino treated Mizeri as scarier, that was an insult. She also objected to any suggestion that she and Dino were alike. Some things, she warned, were better left unsaid unless she wanted to be torn limb from limb. With 6 demon lords, Walpurgis became less like dinner and more like business. Raine wanted nothing to do with it until Mizeri snapped her name, at which point Raine clarified that she would of course guide the meetings properly. Everyone was busy except Dino. Guy was buried in work, with Mizeri helping him. Milim was surprisingly dedicated, punishing countries when they squabbled and helping when powerful magic beasts attacked. Ramirez had become a shut-in inside her labyrinth, but Raine owed her enough to let that pass. Dagrel's cleanup and desert control remained a boon. Luminous impressed Raine the most by bringing vampires under control and protecting the humans they once treated as food. Then there was Dino. When Raine told him to try working for once, he had the nerve to answer, "Like you have any right to order me around?" It made no sense. Raine decided they were fated to be at each other's throats. Even 6 demon lords did not seem enough for the workload, so they began searching for new personnel. Then Luminous stepped back, installing Roy as the public-facing demon lord in her place while she supported everyone from behind the scenes. If Dino had proposed that, everyone would have mocked him for goofing off. Since it was Luminous, everyone accepted. That opened the era of Demon Lord seeds and ambitious Magic-born joining the ranks with Kazalim front and center. Walpurgis became the system known today. 3 members could call a council, treaties and agreements could be worked out there, and new Demon Lords could be accepted or rejected. Raine thought the councils were going in the wrong direction, but Guy got what he wanted from them, so she had no complaint. Time passed. Demon Lords joined and fell off the roster, and eventually they became known as the 10 Great Demon Lords. That was when the slime appeared, Rimuru. Raine first saw him at the Walpurgis convened by Clayman. She missed Clayman, in a way. He was weaker than her, but he was very useful at boring bureaucratic work and would accept annoying jobs if complimented enough. His mistake was choosing the wrong adversary. Mizeri had picked up Rimuru for that council, and on the way back she told Raine she was not sure Clayman had much longer to live. She was right. Raine served as MC, and once the topic veered toward Rimuru, events moved on their own. The thrill of it was undercut by Rimuru's attendant. Raine asked Mizeri if that attendant belonged to Noir's family. Mizeri answered that she thought so. She had sensed his presence when she picked up Rimuru, so there was little room for doubt. Raine could not understand it. Noir was selfish to the point of insanity. Why would he ever bow down and serve someone else? Mizeri had no idea and did not want to dwell on it. Raine agreed. Noir was fickle, selfish, and exactly the sort of person she did not want to get involved with. He had once fought Guy to a draw, all by himself, against the same guy that Raine and Mizeri had attacked together and lost to spectacularly. Raine had never fought him personally, but that fact alone made her avoid him. Or More honestly, she knew deep down that she could not beat him. Unfortunately, she was going to fight him anyway. She tried to stay positive. Noir did not lead a faction. He did whatever he wanted. He got in Guy's way. He could have manifested physically at any time, but had never bothered. He was still an archdemon instead of evolving, almost as if he rejected the entire system demons were supposed to follow. Raine convinced herself that this was a chance to set him straight. He did not know her powers, and with the right matchup, perhaps she could beat him. That was how she felt as she set off for battle.
You know, I did feel this intense, murderous gaze upon me, but I was a little occupied at the time. Would you mind calling me Diablo, please, Blue? Oh, right, you've been given the name Raine, yes.
Hearing that made Raine a little happy. Diablo remembered her name. Maybe he deserved a little more credit. Then Raine goaded him. That's right, the name Raine was granted to me by the great Sir Guy, the Rouge color of the primal demons. I'm not like you, named by some mongrel demon lord from parts unknown. Raine did not actually dislike slimes. She thought Rimuru was cute and well qualified as a demon lord. Insulting him was only supposed to be a tactic against Diablo. It was a very bad idea.
Huh? Do you want to die? Or, that is, do you want to be erased from this world forever? Let me make your wish come true, then.
Diablo's eyes were deadly serious. He rarely revealed emotion, so seeing that much anger in him was alarming. Raine talked big anyway. Let's fight, Diablo. I've wanted a chance to battle you ever since I sensed you fighting Blanc in the Eastern Lands. Inside, she thanked her lucky stars that she had invoked ubiquitous mist. With a copy prepared in advance, she could return to the fight if one body was destroyed. Otherwise, she would never have challenged an opponent she was not sure she could beat. She really had been interested in Diablo's battle with Blanc. Raine had fought Blanc before out of envy, because Diablo kept paying attention to Blanc. Thanks to ubiquitous mist, Raine called that fight a draw. If pressed, she admitted the fight itself was more like a loss, but then corrected herself. It was a draw. She was smart and capable. The only person she would ever admit losing to was Guy. The battle with Diablo grew intense. Raine drew on everything she had, trying to corner him. Their magicule counts were even, but she knew Diablo was not really trying. He was a creepy freak, yes, but no idiot. He was one of the two demons Raine personally acknowledged as dangerous to her. Then layered magic circles appeared around her, glowing with letters. Worse, they were holy magic, the type demons were weakest against. Diablo had surrounded her with what looked like disintegration, Luminous's trademark attack, from every side at once. That was when Raine realized she might not win. She survived, of course. Ubiquitous Mist had made sure of that, but Diablo kept being rude enough to bring up another opponent during their fight. Testarossa. Raine did not know who that was at first. Later, when she learned he meant Blanc, she was shocked. Why did Blanc have a name now? Diablo kept praising Rimuru while casually dropping information that was far too important to say casually. Guy was watching from hiding, and even he grew annoyed. Eventually, Raine dragged out the truth. Rimuru had recruited other primals. Blanc was now Testarossa. Violet was Ultima. Jean was Carrera. The equilibrium between the remaining primal factions collapsed in an instant. Raine had always believed demons should live freely, and she enjoyed competition, but uniting that many primals beneath one banner was different. The force would be so strong that fighting it would be pointless. Rimuru rose straight to the top of Raine's personal list of deranged maniacs. The old demigod and Noir had held the top two positions until that day. Now Rimuru had cruised past both of them. Raine decided she could not afford to antagonize him. If survival required sucking up to him, then she would sincerely call him Sir Rimuru from then on. So Raine and the others retreated, leaving the rest to Diablo. Diablo boasted that Rimuru would handle the massive power Guy had sensed on the planet.
Yes, well, I'm sure Sir Rimuru will take care of it, no matter what happens.
The unbelievable part was that Guy accepted that at face value. Raine was only a simple maid, so questioning Guy's decision would have been rude. In the end, letting Rimuru act proved to be the right choice. Mizeri had failed her mission, but she had been pitted against Blanc, now Testarossa, so Raine could not blame her. Raine asked if Testarossa was strong. Mizeri had not fought her directly, but earning a name and body had made Testarossa a demon peer, much stronger than an average demon lord. Raine believed it. Blanc had been a handful even before that. Now she joined the cluster of terrifying personalities gathered around Rimuru. Carrera was a menace. Ultima could trip you up badly, and Diablo was Diablo. If Rimuru had tamed all of them, Raine had to respect that. She told Mizeri, "Let's try not to pick a fight with Sir Rimuru, all right?" Mizeri agreed, though she wished she had been the one to give that advice. Then she reminded Raine that Raine had once suggested they take on Guy. Raine dismissed that as youthful indiscretion. She had grown since then. Either way, that was how the two of them began keeping an eye on Rimuru. Then came the really bad news. Raine met Rimuru properly and decided he really was a freak of nature. She had seen him at Walpurgis, but this was different. Rimuru had decided to evolve Raine and Mizeri too. Raine could hardly believe it, but she insisted she always told the truth. Their new strength would let them help Guy much more than before. Guy might only barely give them passing marks compared with the octogram, and Raine admitted they probably could not defeat any of the current demon lords, except perhaps Ramirez in her current form. Complete Ramirez would be another matter. As for Dino, Raine would love to teach him a lesson, but if she tried, she would be the one left crying. That was why she let him off the hook. He should thank her for her tolerance. The evolution began when Diablo called Guy over to Rimuru's nation. Guy did not like being egged on by Diablo, and Raine thought about staying home, but that would have been shirking her duty. Going along was the right choice. Rimuru had never met Velzard before, so they exchanged greetings. Then he politely introduced himself to Raine as well. Raine immediately understood how easy he would be to fall in love with. She considered pretending to be an oblivious little girl and flirting with him as much as possible. She did not, because she could read the room and was fairly sure her life would be forfeit. The tea session that followed was harmonious. From behind Guy, Raine observed that Guy and Rimuru shared similar reactions to certain things, especially where Diablo was concerned. Both seemed to have their hands full with him. Raine's opinion of Rimuru rose, but his attendance unsettled her. Benimaru seemed stronger than a typical demon lord. Xian had clearly grown since the last time Raine met her, with a vague aura of evil that made Raine wonder whether Xian had gained a skill that gave her an advantage over demons. Raine was no longer certain she could beat Xian in battle, but admitting that would be like saying she was no longer worth anything. And those two were not the only strong ones present. Raine sensed at least 3 or 4 more Demon Lord class auras that did not belong to Testarossa or any other demon. She had thought only Guy could get away with having servants like that. Rimuru forced her to reconsider. Then came tea. Raine assumed she and Mizeri would have to wait, since maids should not casually enjoy tea with the others. Instead, Shuna guided them into an adjacent room where cake had been prepared just for them. Raine could not praise Rimuru's consideration enough. In that respect, he was fully qualified to be king. The cake was strawberry shortcake. Raine, who fancied herself a professional in the kitchen, was not easily impressed. She had once captured a chef from a first-class hotel and held him until he taught her his techniques, so ordinary baking would not move her. Then she took a bite. Oh, this is good. The cake looked simple, but one bite revealed a complex harmony of flavors. The layers were carefully built, with different creams between them and a precise distribution of ingredients. Mizeri was impressed too. Raine and Mizeri specialized in high-end baking, fresh fruit cakes and rich pancakes, but this required a different level of technique. Raine could not help asking whether it used otherworld techniques.
That's right. This was developed as part of a friendly competition between Mr. Yoshida and Lady Shuna. It's a strawberry shortcake that uses 3 different kinds of cream. It uses a tiny amount of powdered black spell rice too, so it's well suited to monster palates as well.
Raine wondered whether Yoshida was an otherworlder. Shuna, she already knew. Shuna had guided them in, served cake and tea, and moved with learned, refined motions as if nothing could scare her. Raine was renowned as a perfect maid, but she had to give Shuna high marks for service. If Shuna was also that skilled as a pastry chef, then Raine had competition. As they relaxed over cake, Raine finally spoke to Diablo. By the way, is it me? Or have you grown stronger since the last time you fought me? It had bothered her for a while. Diablo felt like a different person. Raine and Mizeri had not gained any new powers since becoming demon peers. They had grown through experience, but they had not evolved as living creatures. Diablo, meanwhile, made growth look easy.
You truly are a pair of fools, aren't you?
Diablo had an incredible talent for getting under Raine's skin. Just as she considered punching him, he continued.
It is all thanks to my master, Sir Rimuru. I have performed well for him, and he has offered me a commensurate reward.
Raine tried to turn that into an insult. I suppose that means you're nothing special at all then. Sir Rimuru is great, there's no doubting that, but you rely on him for everything in your life.
Yes, that's correct. Is that a problem?
Diablo smiled as if Raine had understood him perfectly. Raine hated him for making her feel like the foolish one. Mizeri warned her to stop. I think it would be hard for Sir Guy to beat him in a verbal argument. The only way this ends is with you crying. Raine glared at Diablo, completely out of options. Then Xion struck Diablo on the head with a satisfying thwap.
Quit with all that insolence, you brown-noser. Stop being so rude to our guests at once.
Raine nearly pumped her fist in the air. Mizeri was smiling too. Watching Diablo get scolded was hilarious enough to make both of them want to laugh. The exchange devolved into an argument between Diablo and Xion, while Raine and Mizeri were ignored. Then Shuna entered the room. By then, Raine had no hesitation in calling her Lady Shuna. Xion holding her own verbally against Diablo was impressive, but Shuna immediately shouting both of them down was truly a sight. Raine thought she could learn from that. The biggest surprise was that the argument stayed strictly verbal. Shuna had come to call them back to the conference room. Along the way, she told Raine that Rimuru's side had decided to give them the cake recipe at Guy's request. Raine could not imagine the day getting better. Back before Rimuru and his associates, Raine tried to express her gratitude, but Mizeri beat her to it. Mizeri praised Rimuru for the excellent cake and thanked him for the recipe. Rimuru smiled as if it were nothing. Well, I appreciate the thanks, Rimuru told them. If we're going to keep working together, that's exactly the sort of relationship I want to foster with you. They were taking from him, and he called it working together. Raine thought him incredibly broad-minded. She still had no idea what was coming.
You should thank him more. Rimuru's just agreed to give you some of his power.
And so Raine and Mizeri were granted the great honor of evolving into Devil Lords. Raine could only call it crazy. Even looking back, the only adjective that came to mind was crazy, but she was making effective use of the power Rimuru gave her. If he ever had a problem they could address, she swore they would not hesitate to help. Their magicule counts were still rising by the day, and they were more useful to Guy than ever. It had all happened thanks to Rimuru, and Raine thought it only fair to repay the favor. Of course, Rimuru already had Testarossa and the others, so she was not certain he would ever need someone like her. But enough humility. Once again, it was time for a practice battle with Mizeri. Training every day was necessary if they wanted to master their newfound powers. Raine headed for the training field, then noticed a guest at an odd hour. A moment later, the mood changed. Mizeri warned her, "Raine, someone has broken through our barrier." Raine understood. I know, but this is... There was no time for leisurely chatter, much less a mock battle. Raine decided she had better stop talking to herself. Here's hoping I'll get to see all of you again very soon.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.